I didn't like that. Hi, hello, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new here, my name is Nkenna. I'm responsible for everything that goes on here. As you guys can tell from the title of today's video, we're gonna be talking about how I passed my CCRN. More specifically, 5 tips to pass your CCRN. So diving right in. Something that was applicable when I was studying for NCLEX and I carried it over because if it's not broke, don't fix it. It's tried and true. Keep the ball rolling. Pick a reliable testing source and stick with it. There are so many resources for CCRN, and funny enough, I'm studying for another certification exam and there are almost no resources for that. There are some, but there aren't many. And it's very, very hard to tailor your studying. So I feel like you should pick one study resource and stick with it because you can get overwhelmed. Different people have different study plans and it just gets really hard, the information meshing together. So pick something. I bought almost every single book possible for CCRN, and when it came down to it, what worked best for me, I used the Barron's book as a blueprint, and then I used the Elsevier Past CCRN question bank, and I ran through almost all of those questions. I didn't get through all of the cardiac questions, but I want to say at least 85% of those cardiac questions. And that's what I found the greatest success with. And even people that I work with on my unit, they use the Barron's as a blueprint, and then some of them just pass simply from that, but others, they use the Elsevier Past CCRN bank and they passed on the first attempt. The CCRN is a very long test. It is 150 questions, but only 125 of those questions are scored. It's a 3-hour test, and honestly, that is the longest test I've ever taken. I have never sat for a final exam that long. My NCLEX, it was during COVID, so I passed it in 60 questions. It's a very long test, and the only other test that I've sat for that long was when I took the MCAT. It can be mind-numbing. You definitely have to build up your stamina to taking a test that long. Which brings me to my next tip. You have to practice questions daily, and you need to be taking practice exams. When I was at work and when I had downtime, I would be cycling through 10 to 20 question quizzes just to knock those out throughout the day. We all know working as nurses, you don't have that much downtime at work, and when you do, you don't have enough time to be doing a 150 question test. So I break it up into those bite-sized amounts, and then as I got closer to my test, I would take much longer tests to build up that stamina to sit through a test of that length. And it's unlike NCLEX because you have to go through all 150 questions. There's no, it cuts off once you pass. You don't know you pass until you've gone through all the questions, you complete a survey at the end, and then you wait for it to pop up. And it either pops up in green that you passed or it pops up in red that you failed. I studied for 2 solid weeks. However, I had that Barron's book since I graduated from nursing school, and I even joked and called it my emotional support Barron's book because I carried it everywhere with me. It went on every travel assignment, it went on every vacation. That Barron's book has just as many passport stamps as I do. But when I really sat down to study and lock in, it was a solid 2 weeks every single day. I set a minimum of you have to do 75 questions every single day. And there were some days that I would fall asleep after work and I only did 50 questions. I would add those extra 25 questions onto the next day, and I'm doing 100 questions minimum. And during that second week of studying, I did not delegate too much of my effort towards subjects where I knew I was going to do really well. So if I was scoring very, very high, wasn't missing any questions in a certain section, I would skip it. I was like, hey, my weaknesses are cardiac and respiratory, so this is where I'm going to focus. Or I could be a little bit stronger on multi-system, so this is where I'm going to focus my studying. So I was eating, sleeping, breathing, cardiac things. I was looking things up on YouTube to get a better understanding and seeing, is there a way that this can be explained better to me that it's actually going to stick in my head? Honestly, we have a wealth of resources at our fingertips, and if you don't understand it the way that it's explained in the textbook, there's no excuse. You literally can find something somewhere where it's explained a lot better. People literally have whole pages dedicated to you being successful in your set field, and we are so thankful for them. Piggybacking off of that, do not memorize the material. Think of it in such a way that it is practical application. You have to think of this in terms of a patient. It is all relevant information that you need to know as a critical care nurse, and depending on what your future goals are, you're gonna have to know it anyway. Because if you're just pumping and dumping this information, information, it's not gonna stick. But once you start applying it to things and thinking about patients you've had like this and making analogies, it's really going to start to come together. And even if you're stuck on one question, because you have that deeper, thorough understanding of the material, it'll be easier to be able to troubleshoot through some questions. And then the last tip that I would give would be to know yourself as a test taker. I personally took my Ccrn in the afternoon, but I also took my NCLEX in the afternoon, and I feel like I'm a much better test taker in the afternoon. I can wake up, I can brush through my blueprint, see things, answer some questions passively here, maybe not even answer any questions at all. I have time to eat breakfast, I have time to eat lunch, and then go in, relax, take the exam, and that seems to be what produces the best results. Even in nursing school, when we had exams in the afternoon, I blew those out of the water because I was calm, collected. First thing in the morning, I am a bundle of anxiety, and I just hate morning exams altogether. I feel like they should be abolished. No exams before 12 p.m. But know yourself. Think about, what kind of test taker am I? I believe they also still have the option you can take your test remotely. However, I have some friends who took their Ccrn remotely, and they said they were very, very strict. If you even looked somewhere else, you scratched your face, they said if you do that again, I'm going to fail you. I can't verify that. I took mine at a testing center. However, there are other people testing for other things. It's not solely people taking their Ccrn in the testing center. So I was distracted, people tapping their pencil, people drumming on the table, people chewing, people calling the proctor over. That distracted me, but I had to lock in and be like, listen, I gotta take this test. There's a lot of movement, people going in and out because people are taking shorter exams. So know what environment works best for you. If you are able to focus at home and that works well for you, good. If you are not somebody like that, ask for testing accommodations. Make sure that you have earplugs. Make sure you have all the things to make sure you have a very successful test day. Honestly, I could go more in depth about this, but I think that this is a great start. If you guys have any questions, as always, leave them down in the comment section below. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.